Biur Mishnah Vav, next one. So now we established that the high priest is eating a small meal, and next he has to stay awake the whole night. So what did he do? Poker. What did he play the whole night? כבר הזכרנו שאסור היה לכהן גדול לישום ליל יום כיפורים. We already mentioned the high priest was not allowed to sleep on Yom Kippur. שמא יראה קרי. Maybe he's going to see an emanation, ויפסל לעבודתו, and he's going to become impure. משנתנו בא ללמד, our Mishnah comes to teach, מה היה עושה הכהן הגדול במשך הלילה? What was the high priest used to do in the continuation of the night? And we're going to see.
This is the night of Yom Kippurim itself.
Yeah.
The fast started.
Yeah, the fast started already. That's right. That's right. That's right. Of course, you can do. This is what he used to do. Okay. Forget us. Us is in the end of Yoma. אם היה הכהן גדול, so if he was the high priest Chacham, if it happened to be that year that the guy who bought the thing was also knew something, he knew a little bit. היודע לדרוש בדברי הלכה, he used to be able to give a class, let's call it, דורש, so he used to give a class the whole night. That was his job. He knew how to give a class, go give a class. דורש, עוסק הוא כל יום ליל כיפורים במדרשי הלכה. So the entire Yom Kippur, he used to explain the halacha, לבאר פסוקי תורה בדרך המדרש. He used to explain the verses of the Torah according to the Midrash. ואם לאו, and as we said, sometimes the high priest was a nebech, somebody who just bought it because he wanted to experience the death next year, whatever it is. ואם לאו, ואם אינו חכם היודע לדרוש, if he wasn't a sage who knew how to learn מעצמו, by himself, תלמידי חכמים דורשים לפניו. He didn't know how to learn, so he would go to class. There will be somebody who's a sage would go over there, and the sage would give a class. What would he do? He would listen. בהלכה. ואם רגיל לקרות בכתבי הקודש, if he knew somebody who knew how to read the writings, this is not learning anymore. He knows how to say Tehillim. He knows how to read Tehillim, or Torah. So, קורא בהם. So he would say Tehillim the entire night. He reads in them. He's not into learning. The guy said, I'm not a learned guy. You know how to read. You can say Tehillim. Say Tehillim the entire night. V'im lav. And if he doesn't know how to read, say the expression, שאינו רגיל לקרות בעצמו, קוראים לפניו. Then you read in front of him. What? Many, because they used to buy it. Yeah? They were complete ignoramus, some of them. Yeah? קוראים לפניו, so they would read in front of them. In front of him. Somebody will say Tehillim. פרקים מתוך כתבי הקודש. You read him chapters from כתבי הקודש. ובמה קוראים לפניו? So it says, usually what would they read in front of him? So they would read in front of him interesting stories, because otherwise he would fall asleep. What was interesting, Tony? Be-Iyov. They would read to him Iyov, Be'ezra, instances storing from Ezra, בדברי הימים, in דברי הימים, שהם דבורים המושכים את ליבו לשומעם ומפיגים את השינה. They're interesting stories over there, so they're trying to make sure he doesn't fall asleep. זכריה בן קבוטל אומר, זכריה בן קבוטל was somebody who was there in the second temple, and he used to say what he used to say to the high priest. He was the sage, the high priest was in ignoramus, so they asked him once, how did you keep this ignoramus up? He doesn't know how to read, doesn't know how to write, doesn't care about anything. So how did you keep him up all night? פעמים הרבה קריתי לפניו בדניאל. It says many times the only thing that the guy would understand is Daniel, the book of Daniel. So you would ask yourself, Daniel is one of the hardest books. It says, what's so special about Daniel? אף כאן מדובר כנראה, also over here we're talking about, באותם כהנים גדולים, we're talking about this high priest, שקנו כהונתם בממון, that they bought their high priesthood with money. בזכות קרבתם למלכות, they had the connections. They're the ones who were connected. כמו שכבר הזכרנו לעיל, like we explained before. והיו ביניהם כאלה שלא למדו תורה. There were amongst them people who were completely ignoramus. They didn't learn Torah at all. ומכאן שנינו במשנתנו, and from here we read in our Mishnah, שאם אינו רגיל לקרות קוראים לפניו, that if he doesn't know how to read, you have to read in front of him. This guy is a high priest, he doesn't even know how to read. ובא זכריה בן קבוטל לרמז, זכריה בן קבוטל come to hint to us, שהיו גם כאלה שלא הבינו את לשון הקודש. There were many who didn't understand Hebrew. They didn't even know one word of Hebrew. Again, Hebrew was not a spoken language. Nobody spoke Hebrew in Israel, all of Israel. The spoken Hebrew is a phenomenon of about 200 years. Yeah, Hebrew was never spoken. King David never spoke Hebrew. Yeah, throughout First Temple, nobody spoke Hebrew. When did they speak Hebrew? When they learned Torah. That's it. כי אם ארמית, שהייתה הלשון נפוצה בעם. Everybody spoke what language? ארמית. This was the language. וזהו שאומר, and now we're going to understand why he used to read to him the book of Daniel. Because the book of Daniel is the only book that was written in what? In Aramית, so he would understand. Otherwise he cannot read him anything. Even the Chumash he would not understand. So he had to read to him his language. פעמים הרבה קראתי לפניו בדניאל. He says, many times I was forced to read in front of the high priest, the book of Daniel. ששבעת פרקיו הראשונים כתוב בארמית. That the first 7 chapters in the book of Daniel are written in Aramit, something that the guy would understand. Otherwise he wouldn't understand anything else. How terrible the situation was, huh? You can imagine.